The most important question, how to apply, kind of like dating, you need to find out the people match.
Oh, this isn't very good. Oh, I don't believe what they did.
Exactly, listen to me, I have a sad story.
I feel like you're asking how much do I work and how much do I not work?
No,
I speak English, okay.
How's your feeling like becoming a PhD student? Is it painful or happy or exciting? Hi everyone, welcome to our channel. I'm Lu and this is Sam. Sam is our first speaker of our vlog series, and today I would like to invite him to talk about how to apply for a graduate program in the United States, especially for the University of Southern California, and also how to become a very active and a popular student in the community, because now he is the president of the graduate student government, and this is the most important reason I invite him to share his experience with us. And also, he began to search for a job in the job marketing, so he has some experience about how to find a good job after graduation. So firstly, let's welcome Sam to be our first guest. And Sam, please introduce about yourself.
Thank you. I'm a fifth-year PhD candidate in molecular pharmacology, also studying in the Dean's Lab, Dean Papadopoulos at the School of Pharmacy, USC. And I currently study the physiopathiology of diseases related to steroid hormone biosynthesis impairment. And so, yes, I've been in the program for 5 years now and have had a lot of help from my lab members, such as Lou, who really helped me accomplish so much in the lab. And yeah, it's been a great experience and a really good growing experience.
The most important question, how to apply for a graduate student or program, University of the United States.
Yeah, students should know about what their interests are, what type of research they want to do, so that they can really begin to focus on where they would like to go. So for example, if you're interested in neuroscience, start reading papers on the top labs in neuroscience and those that are really having an impact there. And then begin to research about the professors that are doing that investigation. So you can identify, who has ongoing projects, and then, how your interests align with that. Because then you want to reach out to that professor and say, oh, I am interested in this topic, and I know you've been working on this, and so I'm interested in, potentially working together and applying to your program, and I wanted to know. Also, you want to ask, is there any space upcoming? Are you interested in taking graduate students? Because sometimes they might be retiring or they might not have funding. So there's a number of factors. You want to just, really reach out to them and be, polite and reiterate that you're interested in their program and then also their research.
So I have a small question here. How many professors generally you will search for every round? Everyone, you only send the email to one professor, or 2 to 3 at the same time? And how long will you wait for their response?
I usually do all at the same time if I can. And then when I chose, I did 12 different professors.
Whoa, that's a lot.
Yeah, because I really wanted to get the PhD, and so if you really want to, you need to try very hard. 12 was what I did. Some people I knew did 15 and 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it was a lot of effort that they put, and yeah, I emailed 12 professors. Maybe half of them got back, and then I was able to do some tours in some of the different labs, and that really made a difference. So because when I applied, then they know, oh, this is, he came and he talked about it, and we can put a face to a name rather than just oh, it's just another application. Because there's so many people that apply that are very talented and have a lot of accomplishments. And so if they know you and they know your determination and they've talked with you about it, then that makes a lot of difference.
I see. So let's say if you have 2 professors and you're really interested in them, both of them. So then how do you choose?
I would say then talk to the students, and see how happy they are.
I see. Yeah. So happiness is the most important.
Yeah, because it really depends. So if you talk to the students and find out, oh, what's this professor like to work for him, and then decide, oh, this sounds like it would be good fit for me, or oh no, I think I need something a little bit different. So then you can sort of choose like that.
Oh, I see. I think it's very important to find out what will be the professor expected that his or her student to do. Then you can know whether you can match.
Even right now, I'm working with a student in the student government who she was removed from her lab, and then when I was reading about like all the work she did and her accomplishments, she was a very talented scientist. She would design her own experiments and order her own materials for it, and she designed multiple like vectors, and it was like you could see that she would become a good scientist, that she would develop, but the way the professor and her interacted was not good. And so he removed her from the lab, so it's like it wasn't even that, she wasn't good enough or she wasn't talented enough. It was that they just didn't get along.
Sometimes it's also kind of like dating. You need to find out the people matches you. You imagine you need to be with him or her for like 4 to 5 years. Every day you talk and be together and find out something together. So it's really like you two need to match each other very well. I think it's good to having us for several rounds of rotation. I know USC have that generally for 3 labs, so you can do maximum 3 rotations.
USC in this program, there's the 3 rotations, and it's like a good fit because each one is like about 3 months, I believe, and you can really start to get into the experiments and then see if you like the research, but then also see how you're interacting with the advisor. Because sometimes the advisors might have a lot of time they might want to meet very, very often, sometimes even like twice a week they might want to meet with you, and then sometimes you might not even see them for a long time. And so you have to be like independent in that environment. So yeah, it's like really important for you to find out what you need so that you could get a lot out of your time here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and I heard some students asking me some of them prefer to go into one lab directly because they already find some professors they really like, and then they think it's better for them to start earlier, so they can also finish their project earlier. But some students would like to try different labs. So it's just different strategies. But for me, it's I also like rotation rather than just go one lab directly and say, okay, I will stick with you. Because sometimes if you find you doesn't match that lab very well, and then you already have no chance to change.
What lab did you like the best for you? Because you're very talented. So
Thank you.
How did you get to that? What type of advisor worked best?
I need to share some unhappy experience about my PhD life. It's my first lab is also not that good. I need to say I'm not a very talented student in the beginning because I have no idea about what I should do. And my first mentor is a very young assistant professor. He expected to have a project very successful in the beginning. So he gave me a work about write a whole brand. He doesn't tell what I should do for writing a brand. So after I spent 1 month to finish the brand and submit to him, and he just asked me one question why should I give you money? And I just say, you don't even mention I should think about that question. Two people doesn't match each other, and then they don't know what the other one expecting you to give, and then you will find both of you feel not good. I tried to change to another lab. It's a more experienced professor. He doesn't expect me to begin the project in the beginning, so then he assigned a senior student to guide me to do a lot of lab work, and also he sent me to other universities and also NIH for exchange. So my first year is total a fresh graduate student to learn different techniques. And then he gave me 3 different projects to say, okay, it's very dangerous to begin only with one project. You should have several side projects so that finally, if be successful with one, it's okay for you to graduate. So I think that style matched me more. I don't have a lot of papers, but I have a lot of experience to deal with several different projects, and I know how to explore the project by myself. If someone expects to have a lot of papers during the PhD, maybe you can find a young guy and he can give you a lot of work, and you already go project oriented. You know what's in the end you will get. But many experienced professors, they would like to train you like a researcher, so you can know how to do the project by yourself. So I think the style in our lab is the same. the dean expected us to explore the project by ourselves. So finally, we know how to manage the project, and I think it's good for us to find a job. Like beyond the researcher, we can also become like manager. We know how to cooperate with other people. We know how to like manage the whole project or lab. Second question is, why do you choose the USC as your university to get a PhD?
I really liked schools in Los Angeles, because that was where a lot of my family is, and so I wanted to continue to stay in Los Angeles. So it was really like UCLA or USC.
Yeah.
But then I also did apply like a lot of other places, like Berkeley, Stanford, and UC Irvine. So like all over California I applied. But USC, they just had a lot of really good accomplishments in getting people to positions in like industry, so working at drug companies. Whereas other schools, they had a lot of focus on, their students then becoming professors or teachers. And so I knew that I didn't want to become a professor. I knew I wanted to get a job like in, maybe a pharmaceutical company. And so I was like, okay, USC is the best to do that. So that's where I'm going to go and just, really learn what it's like.
There's a little bit difference between, like we say, public university and private universities, because we know like the UCLA is a very good public universities and their research is excellent. Students really want to focus on like academia and become like a professor in the end. I think UCLA is more like a better choice. But USC, because we have a children family and it's a huge and amazing network. So if you really want to go to industry and find a good job in the end, I think maybe USC will be a better choice.
Yeah, even in other schools, like when I would talk to them, a lot of the students, they would like continue for a postdoc or, end up being a adjunct faculty or associate professor. So yeah, USC was the only one where I would talk to everyone and they're like, oh, so-and-so just graduated and they're working at this company now. And then even since I've been here, everyone, graduating goes to work at a company.
Oh, okay. So how's your feeling like becoming a PhD student? Is it painful or happy or exciting?
All of it.
To share a little bit.
Yeah, all of the things you just mentioned. Yeah, it's like, when we're applying, we say like, oh, we're recognizing our accomplishments and saying, oh, we've done all this great stuff, and this is why we should, be let in. And then when we get in, we have to like, then sort of like put that behind us and be like, okay, I'm here to grow, And so, like, to grow, it can be very like a long process. It can be like sometimes like painful, but also sometimes exciting, So
yeah,
it's all about identifying what you need to grow and then going after it.
I think the first 2 years is like more painful. We just question ourselves a lot because it's like a challenge again, and we always fail in the beginning. So I think the first 2 years for most of students, PhD student is really strong. And after we pass the qualification, and then we begin to know what exactly we want to do with the project, and we become like happier, and we know why I come to the lab and what I should do. So how's your day life in the lab?
Like on a day-to-day?
Like a general day.
Oh, like a general day? Well, each day is always like a little different depending on like where my project is. But when I come into lab, I will check my emails and then make sure that if anything I'm working on writing, like whether it's like a grant or a paper or maybe like a chapter for a book, like if any like edits come in or suggestions from my advisor, that I'm then responding to those. And then after I check my email and make sure that everything's good, I go to work on the cells and make sure that the cells are growing as they should be, and then if they're ready for an experiment, I'll continue moving forward with an experiment. So I'll need to plate the cells into another plate, and then do a treatment. So there's like a lot of like different setup I'll have to do. And then it's nice because it is like a job. So then they can go to lunch after we set it up, and then maybe come back and then do some other experiments, and then just go home. Typically like a regular like work day.
PhD is more like a job rather than being a student, because most of the time we're just doing experiment and then read the paper, and then also to talk to the boss and the lab mates to see how we can solve the problem. So I think it's also a good training. But I know Sam, that he has a lot of activities beyond the lab. So can you introduce a little more about your life, like rather than the lab?
Yeah. I always like to make sure I'm busy like outside of the lab. I'll always have things to do. So a lot of hobbies like music, or just going hiking. Especially in Los Angeles, there's so many places to go hiking. Because there's a lot of mountains around. So there's so much to do like outside of the lab, and so sometimes I'm like, oh, I should spend more time in the lab. but it just makes sure that you do things that help you relax. Because then you work better if you're feeling relaxed and capable.
So when we like become like more relaxed, actually we can also improve the working efficiency. At least for me, I found the work-life balance is very important. What is your most enjoyable part about your PhD life?
When you get to that moment where you start to know you're an expert. Like you can read something and then be like, oh, this isn't very good. Or you'll read a paper and you're like, oh, I don't believe what they did, or but you can only get to that level if you're an expert. So you can really identify like, oh, how did they do this? I've done that, and that's not, that doesn't make sense the way they explain.
I see.
Yeah, so anything from like the methods or the results, or even like the introduction, like if they get something wrong, like they don't connect the story well enough, like you'll be able to do that. So that feels the best, because then you're like, oh, I'm now an expert, and it feels good.
Sam is the one really good at seahorse in our lab, and he can teach everyone here to do that. I think he felt very good when he worked out with the protocol of the seahorse.
Yeah, and that one measures like cellular respiration. So like if you're interested in like how the cell is like functioning, using different resources as far as like the mitochondria. So that's what that technology is for. The most painful thing, I think, is it could be very lonely, and so if you're interested in like coming to the United States and doing a PhD, you might have like trouble at first like meeting people, because everyone's just so focused on their work, and so if you're someone who likes to interact with people a lot, then that can be very difficult. But the way that you could get out of that is find different like either students that you can talk to, so other lab mates or other people in other labs, or like you can join like clubs or organizations. Like there's a bunch of like clubs in the pharmacy program.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I don't know that part.
So
we have a lot of clubs to have like different like outdoor activities or the activity beyond the lab. Introduce a little more about that. I'm also interested.
Yeah, so they always have events like they'll go hiking, or they'll like go get food, or they'll have like study sessions together. And so just like really like anything that you would like do with your friends, like they have those opportunities. So like if you want to hang out with people or you want to talk to people, then that's a good way to go, because that's the way you'll get it. And sometimes if you're just going to the lab and then going home, you might not get that.
Where can we find the clubs? Like how can we, like in general, how can we make friends or join one club here?
Yeah. I would always like start by going on the university's website and then looking up, just like searching the school and then clubs.
Oh, you mean in the linking? Or in the USC main website?
On the USC main website.
Oh, I see.
Or any school you go to. And then you might have like a department that's like campus activities or student affairs. And then they usually have like a list of all the clubs. And then so you can check like, oh, what's related to this, if you're interested in like healthcare, or if you're interested in business, or you know, anything like if you're like the law society, anything really, like there's so many different clubs. Yeah.
Or even people just think like PhD is a group of people like kind of weird and only know how to study and work. I know different universities have their own taste about choose what kind of student they like. So what kind of characteristics do you think the USC will consider the most when they have their own student?
I feel like the most important characteristic for USC is the social component, because they're very big about like the network, like you said earlier. And so to be a part of the network and to contribute to the network, you have to be someone who talks to people and interacts with people, so that you can really utilize that network. And because USC wants to build their brand and they want to get bigger and always trying to improve and look better than other schools, like they want alumni who are really contributing and really making a difference in their jobs. And so, you know, they're really trying to get strong leaders.
So like the leadership and the communication skills, and also like the presentation is the like ability they really care about. I know you are familiar with a lot of Chinese students. So what kind of like characteristics do you think the Chinese student have as good, and what kind of things is like we need to improve more to get used to the campus life here?
Yeah, the international students I met, they always work very hard. I noticed, like because it's very competitive. I think maybe it's more competitive for the international students than students who live in the United States. So I think that competition sort of like continues here. Like they just work very hard and they focus on it. And maybe sometimes it would be good just to, rather than only focusing on the work, just to focus on the people too. You know, building those relationships and networking, because you never know if someone you work with could lead you to a job one day, or you know, they could recommend you for a job, or you know, they might be in a city that is far away, and then you get a job in that city, and then it's like the only person you know. You know, so it's like they could become your friend.
Working hard is always a good thing of like international students, but I find like we are always shy to speak because we think our English is not that good, and also sometimes we feel our talking is not interesting enough. Like, oh, if I talk too much, people may like a waste of time for other people. So that's like basically our concern. Like what kind of strategy we can use to extend our network or making friends together?
That reminds me of a story I read recently where there was a big company and someone from Germany moved to the United States, and you know, when he was working in the office, he would get so annoyed because people would like stop by the desk and be like, oh, how was this, how was that, and just like make small talk. And where he was from, that wasn't like very common, and he saw it like as a waste of time, you know. But then when someone pointed out to him, no, that's what like, you know, Americans like, they like to get to know each other and like talk, like then he started doing it and, you know, became more successful in his job and like, worked his way up. So it's like, even though it might feel, oh, it's not important to just, you know, talk, that's a really big part of American life, is like connecting with people and building the relationships. So it's like more than just like the work. It's like, you know, can I work with this person? Do I like them? Are they, you know, good to work with?
So for Americans, like hear more about feeling. Maybe there's a balance between like the feeling and also the efficiency of the work. So both of them are very important. So you will not just evaluate their performance, but also how they get well with other people.
Yeah, because it's a part of like communication again. You know, if you don't work with, or if you work with someone you don't like, or you know, someone that's mean, then it'll make you feel like bad. You know, like you'll be like upset when you're at work because you know, this person could say something mean, or they could, you know, disrupt you somehow or whatever, for whatever reason. But you know, when people are applying to jobs, one thing they look for is like, oh, can I work with this person? Do I like them? Do I want to work with them? You know, so it's, that of course, like I said, when they're looking at the applications, whether it's like for a graduate program or for a job. Like there's so many talented people in the list, and so to really make yourself like different, you have to be likable, you know, and like and stand out in a way that's, you know, that people want to be around.
Yeah, I remember in the beginning I don't dare to talk to them, but in the end when we found like we like each other, I always went to him and I dragged him and say, Sam, please listen to me, I have a sad story. I thought Sam is okay with that, so I'm guessing other Americans is also okay with sometimes I take your time to have you listen to me.
Yeah, we like it, you know, because working all day is not fun. So it's nice when someone visits you and talks, because it's almost like a little break. You know?
But you're so popular, you know. When you're sitting there, I found like almost everyone want to go to you and say, Sam, can you listen to me for a while? Sam Corner is the most popular place in our lab.
Yeah, I just want to help people, you know. So
yeah,
usually
I know,
it's
you're
like,
so kind.
Yeah, it's usually about lab work or, you know, if someone's like stressed. You know, so.
Yeah, I just hope that we don't take you too much time.
No, it's like an important part of grad school is like being able to like plan everything out. And so sometimes there are times when someone comes to talk to me and I'll say, oh, I can't right now because I have to finish this because then I have this other thing. So knowing when to say no to people, knowing when your time is limited, you know. So like it's always about planning and making sure that everything's like laid out so that you do have enough time.
How much percentage you will distribute for like the communication, and how much you will like for exactly the lab work? Do you have like a percentage in your mind?
I feel like you're asking how much do I work and how much do I not work?
No, I think communication, now I realize communication is very important. It's also part of our work. But you know, in like Chinese education, we ignore that part much. So we don't realize how important it is. And when I come here, I begin to realize it is very important for me to find a job or get well with people or even like become a leader in the future. I still don't know how much I should like spend on, you know, communication.
I think like I do maybe like 25%, you know. Then that way I have enough time to get my work done, but then also, you know, get to know other people's projects or like just get to know them, and that usually helps, like, you know, 25%.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah, I should spend more. Sam is really a good teacher. Teach me a lot about how to communicate with people. I also recommend when someone comes to US, just try to talk to more beyond your own community, but also like the native speaker and also other populations, because every community have their own culture, and you will find America is more like an immigration country, so there's a mixture of different populations.
Chinese students shouldn't be shy about like how their voice sounds or the accent, because you know you or Americans encounter so many people with accents, you know, and so it doesn't matter to them, you know. They're always just happy, like, oh, this person's really trying their best, you know. And I think that's what's important, that nobody will like make fun of, or you know, most people won't make fun of someone.
I feel great about that part. I found when I speak, I know I don't speak that well, but when I speak, everyone will listen to me very carefully and not judge on my accent. So after I talk more and more, I feel more confident about talking to people. I even sometimes I don't know how to describe a thing, and people want to teach me that exact word. So I just learn through the communication. And Sam is the best teacher to teach me that part. Thank you, Sam.
I speak English, okay.